I'm aware that we as a nation are uneasy to confront one another around this issue.
Bob has issued a major challenge to us to work together in this new century to undo racism once and for all. This is not a small task.
Because racism is something very personal. It's a profound hurt done to a person on that level.
It's multi-systemic in America. It has been for a long time. And it's about treating people differently.
Oh, just discrimination against people because of their differences, primarily race.
It's sort of an automatic filtering and separation device that occurs in someone's mind because they look at someone and see something different than himself.
This disease of racism is in our country. It is in our cities. And we need to be able to facilitate a dialogue between our citizens.
It is a nationwide, very serious problem and needs to be addressed by all of our cities, nationally.
I'm asking all of you to join me in a covenant this day. A very serious, thoughtful response where all of us committed. There are really very few subjects facing this nation that aren't in some way related to this race issue. If you're going to talk about quality of life, if you're going to talk about a bright future in this city where I was born and raised, or in any other city in America, and believe somehow that you're going to leave a significant portion of the population behind, that isn't going to happen. Virtually all of us, as citizens of this country, have emotionally bought into the idea that we are all created equal. That's part of the founding principles of this nation. And until the reality conforms with that pledge, I think we'll be adrift and in many ways divided.
Maybe first off, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jim Hunt, City Councilman from Clarksburg. One of the biggest issues in our country today is addressing racism. And the National League of Cities has taken a leadership role on this and has made an effort to come up with programs and plans to assist cities and our communities in addressing racism throughout the United States. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Lorna Gonzalez Pinto, who has been working with the National League of Cities as a Director of Race and Ethnic Relations Program.
Thank you very much, Jim. So what I'd like us to do, just in the interest of trying to keep you awake, is if you could turn to the person seated next to you just for a very brief moment and talk to that person, actually just for a few seconds, about what racism means to you and how it has affected you.
There's an increasing recognition across the country that if one is to seriously focus on reducing racism in communities, that efforts have to be very deliberate, systematic, sustained, and broad-based. And the campaign for promoting racial justice, the guiding framework for the campaign, does have all these 4 elements. Basically, what we are asking our officials to do is we are asking them to move through 4 phases. And in moving through those 4 phases, we are hoping that the efforts will be ongoing. First, we're asking officials to take stock, to critically examine the cities within which they live and work. The next thing we're asking them to do is, given the city-specific contexts, to implement initiatives. We're also asking them to share their stories because it's important for them to let other officials know what is going on. And finally, we are asking all officials to envision the future, to ask the question, where do we go from here?
I'm very pleased that you're able to participate today. This is a real beginning for a partnership with an organization called the National League of Cities. And the partnership is very exciting because this is not a partnership only with Foster High School. We're talking about a partnership with the community.
My vision would be that Tukwila emerges as a community where students, parents, and general community members desire to live in a community where they're respected, where they're treated well, where they can fully participate in all the institutions.
Racism is about institutionalized oppression based upon racial attributes such as skin color. It is about the denial of equal rights and equal opportunities to people based upon their race.
This is a great start, and I think it's a good idea, but where are we going to go from here if we're going to see change? That's what I just want to know.
They're passionate about their beliefs, and I'm very hopeful for the future of our country in terms of diversity and in terms of equity when I see the great youth that we have in our schools today.
This is an important gathering in Auburn, New York, as we begin to undo racism in this formal setting and in conjunction with the National League of Cities. On behalf of the Auburn City Council, I'm proud to be a part of this city's government at a time when we mustered the courage to publicly address racism as part of the political agenda.
Trying to deal with beyond racism. We want to raise kids who don't make fun of each other.
I think we're touching on such an important issue that it disturbs me that there are not as many children here.
How do you work against such broad-based prejudice that won't even let the children have a part?
Maybe at some point us adults should move to the side and let's concentrate on undoing the racism in our children. They only know what they're taught, and if we're not
That's all we want. And one way to do it is keep listening others' stories, keep hearing others' pains. That way we can change our heart, not just our mind.
I'm pleased to announce that our city's efforts to undo the isms don't stop here. We have immediate plans for follow-up, and you heard from Kathy regarding the October 11th.
Today, we urge all Americans to shed their fears, to set aside their suspicions and hostilities, to open their hearts and minds, and to speak freely and honestly in a broad and continuing dialogue. We can undo racism. We can achieve social justice.
We've had a problem in this country far too long. We've segregated people based upon economic lines and primarily based upon racial lines. And if we're truly going to solve the problems for the 21st century, undoing racism is the most fundamental problem for us to solve.
The materials that they provided me dealing with racism in our cities was something that was near and dear to me because the National Bar Association's essence is eradicating racism.
Cities are about dreams. Cities are about people coming together, working together, and succeeding together.
The fact that all of us want to have basically the same things. We want to have a safe place to live. We want to raise our children in a very, very comfortable environment so that they get the best education opportunities. And we want to enjoy the fruits of our labor and the community in which we support.
We owe it to our children or to my grandchildren to be able to change some of our attitudes and behaviors in how we deal with one another respectfully.
This mayor and this program is the most important thing you could be doing today.
And I hope that each and every one of our cities across America who belong to the National League of Cities will sign up and make a commitment to address the issue of racism.
Let me ask you again, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? We indeed are ready in America to undo racism. Together, in my heart of hearts, I know we can do it and we will do it once and for all.